Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator and my New Zealand adventure tour. We're flying 10 legs here from Walker Air Transport for a tour to try to get that done and also to enjoy the countryside and all the beauty that there is to see. I'm here on runway 5, which is where I'm going to take off. Go ahead and get a flight plan in and see if that will change anything. I've entered the flight plan with all the detail, with the different waypoints and so forth, so this is as thorough as I can get. I've even kind of figured out an approach per what SimBrief has given me and so forth. So we've got a lot going on, but at this point, you know, we're on the runway and we are, in theory, ready to go. So this is the map with what we want. We can kind of zoom in and out. So that's probably a little bit more realistic. And I think at this point, because we don't want to activate approach or vectors to final, so I think we've got everything set the way we need, because this is our flight plan here. So I'm going to release the parking brake, and I am now going to speed us up, and we're going to get out of here. So I think, again, this one's like a little over 100 nautical miles, but we've got a bit of a different kind of approach pattern and so forth here. So the one thing I figured out, I think I talked about this last time, is it seems that we are pulling differently here. I don't want to go that high. Let me back off a bit. Alright. I feel like I'm climbing. Yeah, I'm climbing far too fast. Alright, so it looks like it's giving me some of that. So if I do that and damper, whoops, I'm not sure what it's doing. Okay, autopilot, there we go. So I don't know if it will fly my plan at this point. I suppose that's something to try. I'm going to set my altitude at 3,500, which in theory is where we should be. Alright, so if I do that and do VNav, let's see. So VAlt, but it's not adjusting anything. I mean, it does appear to be following the line here, but we're just not very far up. Let's put our gear up. So we'll get those folded away. But that's the airport we took off from over there. So not too bad of a flight right now. We'll be heading out over the water a bit. But the question is, why are we not... Because right now, like at Savalo, it should be at 3,500. So, let's see. Vertical speed. And let's climb. Let's see if we do that. So, I probably want to increase my throttle some. Whoops, I'm pointing to some stuff there, so that kind of messes things up a little bit, but that should help. And then we should be able to get to the climb rate we have. See, but now it doesn't appear that we're following the navigation. So let's see. Okay, now if I hit nav, there we go. So I'm just going to see if this will do that, because if I can do this, that'll make it a little bit more enjoyable on these flights to just... So if I do nav and VNav, like I don't know that I need I'll worry about that maybe next time. But you can see, like, at this point, I think it is coming around, and then it should start flattening out. But we're kind of set at 3,500 feet. We're heading a little bit toward that mountain that I was wondering about. It is flattening out, which is a good sign. I was starting to wonder what it would do. Alright, so it's telling me I'm within, that beep is I'm within 1,000 feet of my altitude. So, you know, at this point we're climbing up quite a bit. Alright, and Palmerston North, which is the airport we're headed to now, is at 151 feet. Again, we have no METAR data from either airport, so it makes things a little bit more challenging. And we have about 98 nautical miles to go. Now that again is kind of straight as the crow flies to the airport. So we're going to see if this kind of levels itself out. It appears to be doing that. So the alt is blinking, and in theory that should then lock into the altitude, and eventually I imagine that'll stop blinking. There we go. And now we'll gain some airspeed because we're no longer climbing. But we are heading toward whatever that mountain is over there. That is pretty impressive. I think we're just going to go by it. So we're going to end up over the water as we pass Wanganui. That will be to the left on the shore once we get where we're going, but you can see kind of where we're headed with the nav aids. Now the nice thing, let's see, if I go down here and I look, because we passed Savlo, and now, alright, so yes, this is, we're going to Ingle, or Ingle, however you want to pronounce that. And then we're going to go to 132 for Andom, which is about 5 nautical miles. So you can see, you know, this gives us a lot of individual waypoints then that we can follow, and follow established airways as opposed to just kind of randomly flying everywhere. But now, yes, we're passing Inglewood. So it's probably more Ingle. I think that's what I said. I think I might have said Ingle, but... So if we zoom out, let's see, we should be... So I don't know if that's just this area. I don't see a real town or village here that I would say is large. It just looks like a farming community. Alright, we're starting our turn here. And so that's going to take us over. And then again, we've got about 5 nautical miles till the next point. But this now gets us more on the straighter path. So this was kind of fly the approach out and then vector ourselves back to what the longer term approach will be. So we're then heading, the next thing I see on my map is something called Stratford. And so we'll be doing, you know, hitting that probably a good ways away. Like Stratford is as far away from here as as Inglewood was from the airport. Now again, we kind of flew a triangle. So if I pull things over here, the green line is where we've gone, so you can see this is where I said we've turned, and now we're kind of on that vector. So that is what I'm looking at off screen as I try to keep myself a little bit organized. But we are basically, with this approach, kind of going to go circle. We're going to pass Palmerston to the south. Then we're going to head over toward the east. Again, pass it. And then circle back around, because we're coming in to land on runway 25. Is what the plan is. So overall, you know, we're probably going to be talking about 120, 130 nautical miles of flight that we're doing here. So a little bit of hills again. Doesn't seem to matter if I back off. But now we're passing, we're kind of leaving behind whatever that mountain is. You know, going to be passing it by. So that's over toward, if I'm looking at the map, there's something called Opunake, or Upunake, on the shoreline of the island there. And that is what that is next to. But, so we've kind of got the standard little hilly, rolling terrain type of thing here. But, you know, early morning flight again, so we got the sun over there, off to, I guess, yeah, it'd be our east, that would make sense. But, you know, this is not an ILS approach, and I don't know that I would necessarily need an ILS approach. But yeah, at this point we have nav on, our flight director, AP yaw damper, and our VNav. And so I think that kind of, you know, takes care of most of what we need. You know, again, now we're going to Celta, which is, oh, it's actually not that far away. Alright, I thought that was a longer distance, but it's not. And I see it here on the map, so 3 kilometers. Now the thing is, like, I'm less familiar with these displays. Alright, so there's our distance, 2.3, so that gives us that, so we can see up here. So we're tracking 131. We've got our ETA. We've got landing is going to be about a half an hour from what our ETA to Celta is. So, you know, again, a little bit longer flights here for things, that's for sure. But part of this is just, this is, you know, what a flight simulator is. You're just kind of traversing around. We got some mountains over there, so that's more inland onto the island. There's really nothing. There's things more that way that are, I think, Ohakun or Ohakune, and then Raithi is right next to it. So once again, any New Zealanders that might be watching this, they might be more familiar with that. Looks like we've got a nice little river valley that we're going to be flying over here. So it's pretty nice. Definitely a little bit more mountainous terrain or hilly. I don't know that flying at 3,500 feet and clearing pretty nicely is something that qualifies as mountains. Because, you know, maybe they're a few hundred or at most 1,000, 1,500 feet high, I would think. But obviously enough to move the river all over the place. So we can see on the map over here, you know, there's definitely a lot going on there. So we've got, what, 15 kilometers to the next point, which I'm not sure is that, no, it's MEVAX, because whatever that is I guess what's behind us. But then are we really already at the arrival? That seems strange that we'd be heading toward the arrival point, but we might be, because again, that looks like that's, I guess what I need to see. Yeah, this isn't clicking down, so I think once we hit MEVAX, that's 33 nautical miles away, and that will put us at about 47 when we hit MEVAC. But, you know, then we've got a little bit of flying around that we're doing. But this is definitely pretty gorgeous. Look at the way that river kind of really goes around in there. I'm sure, you know, the way it widened up and all of that, I'm sure it's just very slow moving through there. But yeah, this is a very beautiful landscape we're overflying here. And if you look, it's relatively small. I suppose it might go there a good distance that way. With the sun, it's a little bit more challenging to see. But I'm almost thinking, Msfs isn't at the coast, but and you can see, I mean, that is water over there. So the shore is definitely coming near us. That mountain we were thinking was Wellington or whatever is way behind us, so clearly not even close. And thinking that I could see however far it is to Wellington is a little bit funny. But I think Wellington would be right in front of us. Yeah, if I'm looking at the map, it's kind of in that direction, so it's in front of us to the right a little bit. So we're going to kind of move over, so our next flight will take us to Wellington. But we're 6 miles from Msfs, so we'll just kind of enjoy the time here in the cockpit. But every once in a while I like to be outside just to get the view. And certainly, again, let me know, would you prefer, even though it's louder outside the cockpit, to spend our time outside so you can take in the landscape a little less obstructed? Or is this better, kind of as we'd be in the plane and giving you more of the feeling? So yeah, so I'm wondering if that is... Yeah, it's definitely, I'm sure, part of this island, because that is kind of basically where we're headed. So we're gonna cross out into, I don't know that I would call it the bay, but over the water. That I think is safe to say. We're gonna pass over the water and then come back in, and then only once we hit the shore are we gonna take a sharp left to the east, where we're really kind of almost going like 85 or 80 is the heading. It's a little bit north of east, but just a little bit for a while, basically until we get directly south of the airport, and then we'll head a little bit further north as we head east to the point where we circle around and start making our approach. Okay. Now what is it? It's blinking? Next, oh I see, next DTK, 122 degrees. Alright, so, not sure. Again, I'm less familiar with the terminology, but now, okay, so now we're going Mutex to Viral, 32, and then, you know, after that, 6, see, but we've still got like 11, and then I don't know if these are all approaches, like, you know, we've got a good amount to continue here. But yeah, so these are all the points we're done with, basically. So heading toward another river, but you can see, you know, we are gonna cross the water, but we're gonna obviously be more direct than we were going to be on the heading we were on. So this just will keep us, I don't know, a little closer to the land, you know, why for whatever reason. But Viral is out in the water, our next waypoint, and then you know, we'll keep going from there. But down to 28 nautical miles, and then we're going to do a little bit of a turn back to the right, it looks like. Once again, I think it's just the way that the air route is designed. You know, obviously I'm assuming we're not flying around something, because There shouldn't be any terrain out there. You know, but knowing how to do this in the TBM 930, I think will be helpful, because at least we can, you know, if the proper flight path like keeps us out of harm's way, I'm assuming that's going to become a little bit more important as we move around New Zealand here. Alright, so basically through my pillar there is probably where Wanganui is that I talked about, that would be the area off the coast. And I don't know, again, if that's a region or a city. It's capitalized on my one map in, well, actually in all the maps, where the cities or something are more uppercase first letter and lowercase, you know, kind of mixed case standard. So yeah, I'll be deviating on Sim Toolkit Pro substantially, I think, from what it's drawn, because it did a much more direct route into the airport. But I'm okay going slightly differently, just, you know, to get some more views and so forth. So, you know, kind of right around there is where Wanganui, or it could be Wanganui? I don't know. Just not sure how that goes. But I think, you know, we're somewhat paralleling the coastline. We don't get too much further away from the island than we are now. But we're going to be over the water for a while. Because it really is almost, I mean, it's really almost that way a little bit, where we're going to finally come back in to contact with the land underneath us, and then start heading over to the east. And we're still a little ways north of Palmerston. But yeah, I think where that river comes out is right where the Wanganui thing is being indicated on the map. Yeah, it's hard to see anything specifically there. But yeah, the sound doesn't really change whether I zoom in or out. I suppose I could zoom in here just as easily. So yeah, I'd say there's probably some sort of a city there. It's not as easy to tell. But it looks like we've still got about 14 nautical miles till the next waypoint. But definitely a little bit calmer flight than we've had, getting used to the features on the aircraft, which obviously makes things a lot easier to work with at that point. Oh, you know what I haven't done? I have not pulled my flaps in. I should certainly do that, because that will probably give me a lot more airspeed too. So let's see if I speed up a bit or add more throttle. You know, that may just, in general, move us along a little bit more. So right now it's giving us, you know, 9 minutes, but that's also, I'm sure, a much more direct route into the airport. I'm thinking we still have at least 20 minutes. According to Sim Toolkit, we've been airborne 22.5 minutes. Alright. So we'll be passing by. But so looking out that way, it's the south Taranki Blight? Looks like B-I-G-H-T is what the water is showing in the map. So I don't know if that's right, but that's what we're overflying as far as the water. Alright, so about 7 nautical miles. You can see it coming up on the map. I might go ahead. Let's see if I push that out a little bit. That'll give us a little bit further visibility on the map there. But yeah, at this point we went from around 200 knots to 225, so that is definitely going to consume our trip a little quicker. So I do apologize for not having that properly set earlier, because we probably could have cut 3 or 4 minutes off the total flight at this point, but alright, looks like we're getting within 3 nautical miles. I'm sure we're going to start getting the warning. I don't know when that starts happening specifically, but you know, it's part of, I guess, what we'll observe and learn here. But this is probably one of our farthest points out. So there we go. So we're going to turn right in 5 seconds. So as I said, we're going to kind of start zigzagging a bit. But, oh, is it really just... No, it's more than a half hour, or half mile. Oh, to veer all. Okay, so now it's 6. Okay, that makes sense. Because now we're going to Kevel. But there we go. So now we're going out a little bit, but then after that, I mean, we will then head more sharply toward the land, but then turn a little bit more parallel to it again. So once again, why this does this, I suppose, you know, we can see on the display here, there is some, looks like, I'm thinking those are airspace restrictions, and so otherwise I think if we stayed here, you know, I suppose if we had deviated to go there, but if we had stayed straight, we may have come in contact with that, and so this may just be a way to kind of divert around this airspace, whatever it is, a little bit cleaner. At least that's what I'm going to go with. But yeah, we're going to make landfall kind of in that direction again, in the pillar. And there's another turn before, another waypoint we're going to hit, or a nav point we're going to hit before that. So you can see it now here. It's what is it, Airpug? Ampug? Anpug. So we're going to hit Anpug in, well, we don't have the distance yet because we haven't technically reached Kevel. But there we go, 5.4 miles, so about as long as we were just flying to the other waypoint. But you can see now we've made a pretty sharp turn back toward the land here. So you can see the mountain way, way in the distance over there, just on the horizon. So a lot of just scenic beauty flying along a coastline right now is what we've got. So I'll definitely be intrigued because, as I said, you know, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, Tolkien, and that whole story. So love the movies that Peter Jackson did, and yeah, New Zealand was on the bucket list anyway, but that's just another reason that it's even more interesting to kind of see. And I know there's some crazy mountains and so forth in that movie, and they said pretty much all the landscapes and everything, they were just filming in different areas of New Zealand. So now you can see we're going to turn And we can't yet see the next nav point because it's, I think, 11 miles away. Is that what it says? Yep. So, guessing we may not hit those mountains. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that, because if we do, I'm not sure we're high enough. They look a lot more formidable than what we've run into before. But if we don't, that is where we turn sharply to the left and go to the east. So, and I'm assuming that, given that it gave us a path at 3,500 feet, that it wouldn't do that in a way that was dangerous, but it might. I mean, we're still not even over land yet, so we've probably got 1 or 2 nautical miles before we even hit the coastline. But it is interesting just how very, very quickly the landscapes change. I mean, at the end of the day, we're dealing with maybe 100 or 200 miles here, and we've gone from some very flat terrain here, a little bit of in the middle hilly terrain, back where we started, and now we're getting to something that you could start to call mountains that are probably several thousand feet high. That might be a barrier for us, but yeah, we've only got 5 miles. I think we're going to get close, but I don't think we're going to quite be there. I'm guessing that river runs along the mountains. But yeah, we're less than 5 nautical miles now. Actually, less than 4. So I think we're finally, yeah, so we're over land now again. A little bit of a city. This is Foxton? I think that's what it is. Alright, and we're starting to make the turn. So yes, so we will not be in any danger of hitting any mountains or hills. Let's enjoy this view from out of the plane. Right, that's about as far out as I can get. We're not turning very sharply. Oh, we don't really need to. But we've overflown that town. And yes, I think it's Foxton. We've got another town over there to the south of us called Levin. And then we're swinging around toward Pahiatua. You know, I know there are indigenous tribes and so forth in New Zealand, so I'm assuming some of these names are tribal names and so forth that have just been adopted. But at this point, we are south of Palmerston Airport. Basically, it's about 45 degrees there into the shrouded mist. Once again, I mean, we will be turning, but this is an interesting view. I mean, I guess we're further from the mountains than it looked like, but I guess we'll have to be careful and see what it tells us. But we are, yeah, because we're still 11 nautical miles. We've got a ways that we'll be heading on this heading before we get to the next nav aid or waypoint, and then have some adjustment. So we might be crossing that, but that would almost seem pointless, because I think we are then turning. I mean, we're definitely going north of here, which is to the left of us right now, because for now we're in essence heading due east-ish. You can see we're at a heading of 065, so we're about, what, 15 degrees? 20? Yeah, 15 degrees. Actually, it is 25 degrees north of a straight easterly heading. So it's just hard to... I think those are low enough that we can overfly them and not be in any real danger. You know, not knowing any of the clearances or any of that is always a bit a bit challenging. Alright, so it's telling me 13 nautical miles. We'll probably get a little bit closer, but again, we're going to go by the airport, and right now we are still not due south of it. We may be due south of it by the time we get to the waypoint, or we may still be a little bit short. But it does look like we're getting a little bit into the terrain in a bit. I'm just trying to look at my fuel here. Alright, so we've got 44 and 47. I assume it's on automatic for the fuel. Yes, okay. So it's just interesting that one has 47 and the other one has 43. You would think they would basically be kept equal. But anyway, we've got 3 miles. Alright, well, I'm glad they're not tall enough, because we're overflying them now. See if we get any kind of warnings. But I'm assuming we're okay. It looks like kind of at the center of the line. We're going to start turning. It's a little over 1 nautical mile. And still not quite due south of the airfield. We're really close. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's pretty close to that. So we're going to be heading to what, 041 it looked like? So, you know, the problem is we're not quite heading east, so the airport's probably in that direction there. Which also then looks like we're going to be circling around and coming down over the hills, which would seem a little bit more difficult approach than we'd want, but that's how they're vectoring us in. So they know the best paths and so forth. And it's possible we could be coming in maybe on that path there. It's just, you know, I'm not really good. So now we're headed very much toward Pihayatua. And given that we've got 12 miles, I think we're going to be coming in, right? You know, we're probably going to be passing over that. But let's see what we've got on the other side here now that we've crossed the ridge. Looks like we've got some, are they power lines or are they, I don't know that we're going to be able to tell. No, not really. So hard to look here. Let's see. I'm looking. There we go. So they are windmills. So that's pretty impressive there. If I could get a nice view of that, that would be pretty neat. There we go. So we are heading by definitely a really nice viewpoint. So again, the graphics here definitely let you enjoy what's happening. Alright, so you can see now we're in essence gonna not quite make a 180, but we are gonna do a pretty abrupt turn and then we're heading in. So with that, let me take a peek and see, because I've got 5, 6, so I don't know if this means I'm 10 miles away then. I do have to be careful, but I should be in better shape, I think. But right now, I'm 11 nautical miles away from the airport, but I probably want to start at least paying attention to what's happening, and then maybe taking over and getting myself lower before I ultimately disengage the autopilot. You know, because it's possible, I suppose. Like, let's see, if I go to the procedure, yeah, the approach is still not activated. I can't imagine it would activate it on its own, but it might. So now we're 13. We still have a little bit of time to go. But yeah, we've kind of already overflown. So yeah, it is back there, I think. So that's Pihayatua. I'm totally butchering the name, I'm sure. So, alright. So we are like mid-island right now. The island's pretty thin at this point. And then we are now going to basically take a long arc over, starting 14 nautical miles out, but we're obviously, you know, still drifting a bit. So I'm thinking, yeah, so we're going to have to come over that ridge for sure. So we are, what, about halfway? Oh no, not yet. So yeah, now it says 15 nautical miles. So we've got that. So there's theoretically waypoints here that we're turning toward, because that purple arc, I think, is just the difference between one waypoint and the other. But now we're about halfway, so we're still going to turn a good amount here. Now there's the town Woodville or something that I think we're heading over a little bit. Just almost seems like we're too far, although 2.5 is almost going to be due west, so wow, are we going to be landing into the sun? Sun should be behind us, I think. Might be why we're getting that view right now. Alright, and at this point, I'm not sure if we're fully heading straight in, but we're going to be going pretty close there. Are these on, or they just look like they're on? Oh no, maybe not. I don't know. Well, they're hard to tell. Alright, so it's going to turn a tiny bit more in a few seconds. We're going to go to 247. And then I'm imagining we got to be really close. So now we're heading over all of those windmills. So I wonder how much electricity that provides. It's probably a good amount there. Let's see. Alright, so we are now 9 nautical miles. So let me lower my altitude here. We'll get ourselves down there. So we'll do the V speed. And we're going to start backing off on the throttle as well. Because otherwise we are going to be there before we know it. So let me go down. I'm going to go down 1500. I think that would be more reasonable. Because yeah, we're only 6 nautical miles. Yeah, there's the airport. I think we're coming in too fast, far too fast. So what I don't know, let's see, if I do the approach, will that lower me down? So let's see. So at this point, like, I think we are way too high again. So I need to go down to maybe 900, and again we'll do, but yeah, we're overflying this, but once again, not the way we would have liked to have come in. So shame on me on that. But we are overflying the airport. So maybe what I'll do is come back around and land from the other direction. Just that's going to be a bit more challenging, that's for sure. So let me maybe put this at 1300. Because at this point, right, we're directly overhead. Alright. So I'm not on the nav right now. But now I'm 2 nautical miles out. Let's see if I head, say, this way. So I wanna make a bigger. No, I don't want you bringing me back. All right, so I think the problem is my course or my heading is not where it needs to be. Let's see. Okay. Goodness gracious. All right. So my heading, let's go there. Why is it going in that route? All right. Because at this point, if I was coming in at 250, I'm going to be at 70, I think. All right, so we're 5 nautical miles now. Yeah, let me go back down. I'm going to lower my gear. So that should slow me down a bit, as should that. And then we'll just have to be careful that we don't go too slow, because yeah, we're pitching way up because of the extra lift. There we go. Alright, so now I'm 7 nautical miles. I just need to figure out the best way to overfly the airport here and get where I need to be. So I am diving and turning. So again, I should be at like 070, I think. So not quite there, another 30 degrees. All right, and I can see it there, so there it is. All right, I can see the lights. It's just a matter now of lining up appropriately. And then hopefully just bringing it in. Yeah, I think I need to be a good ways over. So we're at about 1,000. I don't want to rise anymore. Again, I need to be at 150. So I'm not quite sure if that vector, yeah, it looks like it's lining me up, so it might be okay if I kind of try to align with that, so you can see the purple line kind of coming in. There we go. And then that should give me a good approach. So we're at 1,000 feet, 5 nautical miles out. So we just, what we don't have, at least that I'm not aware of, is kind of a glide slope indication. So I'm kind of guessing where I need to be. And I may be way off. But yeah, clearly I need to be about 1,500 feet. So I really should have lowered my altitude probably before I started that turn. And that was my problem, is I was far too high coming in. So, alright. So let's see. Just seems like we're a little off to the right. I could be wrong.
500.
Alright, 500. You heard that called. I'm sure it'll get called again, as I think we just rose up. But nice thing is it's a pretty clear approach. So nothing too terribly challenging here. Right. So 400 feet. And then 300, so we got about 200 feet or so. I just don't think it'll call it out. About 100, should have 100 shortly. All right. All right. So there we go. At about 20. Now we can taxi off here. And we should be good. Again, not the best flight. 158 though, that was one of 150 is kind of the perfect thing. Alright, and then we'll do that, turn it off. Hopefully we won't have a problem. They indicated with this new update of smart cars that it's having difficulty filing, so I'm going to have to make a change before my next flight. Basically, they said 7.4.3, we've been made aware that the latest FSU IPC7 release is causing issues with smart cars and is resulting in false scenario validation errors. So they were, in the meantime, they recommend not updating. For those who have updated, you will have to revert or await a fix. So I'm hoping that this qualified, but I'd prefer not to have to redo the flight. It doesn't look like it. Now again, they might give me some kind of error or whatever. But yeah, next couple flights pretty short. They're about 70 nautical miles. So those should go a little bit quicker, but hopefully you've enjoyed this and had fun going from one airport to the other. So, you know, this one's nothing too exciting. It's actually a little bit bigger than one of the bigger ones we've been at, that's for sure. So I'll definitely probably start at the gate here, taxi out when we pick up next time. But in the meantime, I've got to update some things or downgrade, figure out how to do that, and we'll go from there. If you've enjoyed the video and enjoying the New Zealand tour, please drop a like, consider doing that. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider that. And I'll see you next time.